Hi everyone, it's Hans here, the founder of Cappuccino, and welcome to this latest episode of Flat Whites and Insights, a podcast created to allow a space for open, honest and vulnerable conversations with real people, all over a beautiful cup of coffee. We're here in my home, so I'll be providing the flat whites, and my guests, they'll be providing the insights. So grab a coffee for yourselves, take a moment, and I hope you enjoy this latest conversation. Thank you, take care, and enjoy. Olly, hiya.
All right.
Yeah, really well, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to come over to Dicklot and join me, Flat Whites and Insights. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this conversation. We've kind of got to know each other fairly well through the coffee Instagram community. That's kind of what introduced us. And I know you're kind of got a lot of exciting plans in the pipeline and really making your way in the industry now. So for those who don't know who you are, you're right to give a brief introduction.
Yeah, no worries. So I'm Ollie. I'm passionate about coffee, and I own a speciality coffee shop called Kolly Coffee with my fiance in Ealing. And yeah, I suppose that's about sums me up, really. Yeah.
Love it. And so you're wearing, obviously we've got there, so it's Kolly Coffee.
Yep.
There you go.
Fully branded up.
Fully branded. So you're going to start trying to sell things. We'll put it in the link. No.
We got the caps for sale now in Kolly on the retail shelf, new retail shelf.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Less than 2 minutes in and it's a sales pitch. Yeah. I see what this is. No. But no, it's great. And it's all happened relatively recently.
Definitely.
So
yeah.
when we first got to know each other, probably like 3-4 years ago maybe on Instagram, because you actually introduced me to a few of the specialty coffee shops in the kind of Bucks area, Cooper's being one of them, and James has been on this podcast. And at that point, were you working in coffee still, and it was just or was it just a passion?
No, so how I got into coffee was I was a delivery driver, and obviously you go somewhere different each day. So I found myself going to a different independent coffee shop each day, and then and I have to give a shout out to Dark from Espresso, because that was one of the coffee shops that I went to a lot, and Stephen could see the passion in my eyes, and he taught me a few things about coffee, the basics, but yeah, I was very, very grateful for that. And then, went to loads of different coffee shops, independent coffee shops, specialty coffee shops, and then I stopped being a driver, and I was in the office managing about 25 drivers, not for that long. And I really wasn't enjoying it, and I knew I wanted to do something in life I actually enjoyed. So I decided to leave that without a job, which obviously I was very stressed about. But luckily, soon after, I found a job at Artisan. And I said to myself, I'd work there for a year to learn before doing it, because I feel before actually, owning a business is something you need to do it firsthand. I worked at Artisan for a year, worked in the coffee shop in Chiswick, and then the roaster at Artisan, Dean, shout out Dean, he said something to me once, Ollie, I can see your passion, because I was one of the few that would clean behind the machine, where the customers see, not the front, the behind. And he picked up on that, and then he basically poached me from the shop to work in the roastery. So I was really lucky not just to learn working in a shop, but in the roastery as well. And then it came up towards the end of the year, and the year of being there, and my sister said Spaces were looking for someone to open a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of took off from there, really. I was, hard work, but also a bit of luck given the opportunity, because opening a proper shop to begin with, I think would have been, quite daunting. Yeah.
No, it's amazing.
That's how it started.
No, definitely, and it has only just started, really. Obviously still relatively young as well, and looking to follow that passion. I think it's great, and I think I was able to come down to Gerrard's Cross, which was, I think, the first Spaces session, and it was cool to see the place there, see it all set up, and I just love seeing anyone just kind of take that little bit of a gamble, a bit of a risk, and just follow a passion. I mean, I've had experiences, I've spoken on a few episodes about I was doing something I thought I really loved. It took me having a bit of, burnout, a bit of a rest and a break to be like, okay, why? Like, what's my why? What am I actually here to do, and what do I want to give? And so it's all worked. Again, a bit of luck, hard work as well, and I've ended up now in a field of I work in football, and I do stuff in the coffee space, and I'm having conversations like this, so I'm able to kind of, and it gives me energy. And I imagine there's certain things as well, like yourself, like regular customers, or just seeing it so much more than the coffee. We're even just saying before we hit record about you want obviously good quality coffee, but for you that's maybe not like the main thing of seeing like the joy in customers and that. So.
Yeah, I mean, another reason I wanted to come and do this is because, yeah, coffee means a lot to me, but so does mental health. You know, before I started, you know, in coffee, I'd say, quite low. You know, I'd get upset most days, being a driver, thinking, you know, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I feel quite lucky, really, to have found something that I enjoy, you know, because that's the battle in life, finding something you enjoy and making it your career, really. So yeah, I feel really lucky, and you know, I have personal experiences with family members with mental health, and you know, eventually down the Kolly line, I'd like to do something with charity to help people with mental health. You know, it's great that it's spoken about a lot now, but back in the day it wasn't, you know. So I'm keen to talk about stuff like this openly, and yeah, so it's funny because two things that mean a lot to me, you know, I've come on here to speak about.
Yeah.
So
no, it's
yeah.
great, and things that like my passions, and that's what I think so great about. I was a bit unsure when I started, or how Cappuccino was started. It was just like an Instagram page to review cafes. I had no thought of it even being about mental health, because I was off with my own, being diagnosed anxiety and burnout. I'd had about 6 months out of work, and for me, purpose is quite a big thing. And at that point, I completely lost it. Felt like I didn't know what I was here for. Didn't know what, like, I had a bit of an identity crisis, really, at the age of 22, so very young.
Yeah.
But up until that age, I'd been so dead set on I want to become a scientist. I want to do this, and so having started this page, it's coming up to 5 years. On the 19th of Feb, it's going to be 5 years since I started that Instagram page.
Wow.
Which is crazy to me, because I'm in such a different place now than I am from when I started it. But a massive part of it was just taking getting out my comfort zone a little bit and trying it. And so, yeah, no, it's amazing. And there's so many good people doing things in the coffee space as well for mental health and conversation, because it's, you know, maybe a space for people to come and talk over a coffee. And so no, it's great as well to hear yourself, and seeing other young men as well talking about mental health is something that means a lot to me, because it's something that I never saw, but then part of it was me probably not wanting to see it, because I didn't want to feel like I had to accept that I maybe needed those conversations. So no, it's awesome.
I think as well, sometimes you have to hit like a rock bottom to push through that and to figure it out, you know. And I think unless you experience mental health yourself, or have a family member or a close friend experience it, you don't know, you know. Before I knew anyone with any sort of depression, you think, oh, you know, it's. But then when you experience it yourself or see someone going through it, you're like, no, like it's more than just I'm feeling a bit low, you know. So yeah, it's good that it's spoken about now. But yeah, I definitely like to do something to help people in the future. But you know, going back to our coffee shop, customer interactions, anyone that walks through our door and comes to our counter, we try and, you know, make them feel special, make sure they know that we genuinely care about their day, because we do. Because some people, that's the only interaction they'll get in the day, coming to a coffee shop and speaking to that person. And if I can make them smile or make them feel like I care how they are, that makes me happy, you know, because that's what it's all about in life, you know, one another. And I think sometimes we lose touch of that a little bit. How many times, you know, do you go into shops nowadays or anywhere? No one goes, how are you, even? You know, just scan it through, yep, great. I'm always like, hello, how are you? That's the first thing I'll say, because I genuinely care. You know, we need to care about one another more, I think. And English people have such a good thing, like, are you all right? Yeah, fine. But they're not fine, you know, they just don't want to talk about it. So I think we need to push each other to speak a bit more as well. With my friends, I'm always like, are you okay? Are you sure you're okay? You know, push them to say how they really are. But yeah.
It's so funny you said that, it's so true. Or even if people say, you're all right, and then if someone actually starts talking and maybe saying they're not, sometimes people almost aren't expecting that. They always say, you're all right, to just open the conversation. It's really interesting. We had some training in the team just last week, and it was about autism ADHD, because it's something that there's a big trend at the moment in football coaches of like in mainstream football particularly kind of becoming more aware of it, and like just because a player's maybe not able to make eye contact with a coach, or just maybe because a player has difficulty understanding or listening and might seem disruptive. Previously those players might have been, you know, I say punished, or the coach might be like, oh, they're just disruptive, they're not focused, etc. So there's a big push in football at the moment on that kind of neurodiversity. But part of it was them saying, like, if you say to someone, are you alright or are you okay, then actually only ask that if you have time to listen to the answer. And that was something that I think can relate to everyone, not just people who are neurodiverse, etc. Because we all are really, to some extent. There's people need that space to offload. Because I think coaches previously, or even in the workplace, I've had it where someone goes, how are you doing? And I go to say, and they were like, they're saying it as they're walking past. So I'm like, well, don't bother asking if you're not going to listen. So I can really relate to what you say. Or even this morning, went to the supermarket, self-scanner, headphones in, didn't talk to anyone.
Yeah, we've lost touch.
We've lost touch with people, and I think something that I did want to ask about then was COVID. So did Kolly come after the pandemic, or were you trying to like launch it all and then?
No, it was
lockdown
after.
happened? Okay.
Yeah,
So
I was a driver still at the time, and luckily I was furloughed. But I'm the kind of person I can't sit still. But yeah, so I wasn't working, but luckily I was staying at my sister's house at the time. She's probably going to hate me saying this, but her garden was a mess. So I literally spent 6 months redoing her whole garden.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful for that, because I can't just sit still, you know, I need something to do. Another thing as well I did during COVID that I really enjoyed was Kelly, my fiance. She used to work for a care agency before she very kindly started Kolly with me. And her company, Universal Care, put like packages together to give out to the vulnerable clients. So I went around in my car dropping those off, which was like something I enjoy, you know, caring for people, whatever. So that was enjoyable. But no, it was after COVID, luckily, so we didn't have any of that stress to deal with.
No, definitely. So it's kind of like nice, almost in a way, for yourself as well. Kind of coming out, like almost felt like a bit of a reset, and coming out of that lockdowns, and then jumping on the back of, as you say, people wanting to engage, and I think there is an element, like you say, there is a bit of a desire for that now. Like we all, you know, society moved and technology moved forward, and it was great, but definitely there's that people wanting that connection again, I think. And so
I think COVID did a lot of damage mentally as well for people, because, you know, well, especially elderly people, they were more scared, I think, to go out because they were more vulnerable, but everyone lost even more touch then, you know. You had to stay in and you couldn't have human contact, and what if you weren't good on a smartphone, you know. So I think we're still sort of dealing with the repercussions of that, which is tough, but yeah.
I think it's that, like, I don't know why it just comes to my head, that, you know, that Passenger song, like Let It Go. It's like you only need the light when it's a bit like human contact. You didn't realise how much you rely on it and how much you enjoy the small social interactions until you really don't have them at all. And there's only so many times you can, like, you know, the Zoom calls and everything. Which, it's a bit like even like here, having you here today, and I try to get guests here face to face if possible, because I think it's just so much nicer to connect with someone, and you have the little conversations before you hit record, you know, and it just feels a bit nicer. And can have a chat over coffee, which is
going back to what you saying about technology. I think that's another thing, that is so many benefits of technology, but also, you know, I think social media and all this messaging, like I find the younger generation struggle almost, you know, with actual face-to-face interaction. So I think, yes, it's good in a way, but I think sometimes it's also stopped them learning. You know, I find a lot of younger people the eye contact thing, you know, they're scared to make eye contact, they're scared to speak to people in real life, but, you know, on the messaging they're like that, you know. So I think parents especially need to be a little bit careful now with, you know, making their kids socialise properly face to face and all that kind of stuff. Even like at the dinner table when you go out, like no iPads, none of that. Just talk to your parents or your siblings or your family, because we don't want to lose touch, you know.
No, I think that's so true, and there's just those life skills you get from it as well, like working in like the office job, and my partner being a teacher, she sees people come through, like the kids who were kind of had homeschooling and everything, like almost sometimes in terms of the development wise, it's like they're doing the same curriculum as obviously kids would be doing their age, but she's at year 9s that are like year 7s, because they never had that, you know, the kind of getting into the big school and just like growing up, and it's all very, very easy to, you know, look great online or sound confident and make things happen online, but there's going to become a time in your life when you're going to need to have that connection, and people skills are so important, particularly when you've spoken about the cafe. I work in football, but it's all the same. Every industry at the end of the day is just like a people industry, and I know that's a cliche, but if you can't work with people, then you're not gonna really get anywhere.
But it's not easy to work with everyone, you know. You have to, you know, everyone's got different personalities, and in a way, you kind of have to manage people, I suppose, don't you? Like, you've got different relationships with everyone, but everyone's human, you know, no matter what. You know, I don't care who you are. If you're a nice person, I like you, you know. That's what it boils down to, I think. But yeah, and technology, like social media, I think people go on there and everyone looks like they're having a wonderful time and a great life, but you're not going to put on there like, my life's terrible, this is my bad day, you know. So I think as well, people look online and think everyone's having a great time and then feel worse about themselves, but it's not true. Everyone's got, you know, ups and downs, and you know, the internet paints such a perfect picture when really, you know, it does, it's not. Life isn't easy. No. You know, you have ups and downs, and and
I think that's why, like I say with Cappuccino, I'm trying to change that a little bit. I try to be honest on there when I can. I've sometimes said it feels a bit like a digital journal for me. I know for some people, the last thing they want to do if they're not feeling great is put it out in a public space, but for me, that just kind of gets it off my chest sometimes, and I just sometimes understand, you know, it's someone seeing this might think, oh, okay, there's others going through that, or there's others, and these conversations as well. The most rewarding things I've had from it probably are not the people saying just, you know, oh, it was amazing. It's when people have said, oh, I heard that and really appreciate that, and it's made me think this, and da da da. So now it's really cool. But I want to go back to Kolly.
Yeah.
And the name. So you mentioned your fiance.
Yeah.
Kelly, that's where the name came from?
Yeah, so actually, how long ago? So Kolly's been alive 2 years. I came up with the name probably 4 years ago, and it's literally just Kelly and Olly put together. And so the logo, my old manager at Autism, Cornelia, another shout out to Cornelia, thank you for everything. So her friend is a tattoo artist in Poland, a really lovely girl called Paulina. And we just asked her to design a logo for us. And I think we said we wanted bees. Anyway, she came up with this, which we loved. And it's funny because she did 3 bees. So I have 2 siblings and Kelly has 2 siblings. So it was just like a coincidence, you know. And also, so the bees come from basically my mum. So when I was 18, she basically got depression, clinical depression. We don't really know how it happened, but she thinks she took this blood pressure pill, and one of the side effects was depression. So she always thinks that caused it. Anyway, she ended up, like, I left school to look after it with my dad, because this was back in 2011 and mental health wasn't spoken about. No one really knew about it. And she was obviously scared that someone was going to take her away if she told, you know, the doctors or whatever how she was feeling. Anyway, it was, really tough. And eventually she did end up committed suicide. So obviously the connection with depression, so it, you know, means a lot to me. And I am, you know, how I am because of her. Everything I am, I owe to her. But basically she loved bees, so that's where the bees come from. She collected honey pots as well, so we have a few of them at the shop. But yeah, so eventually that's why I want to do the charity mental health thing, to dedicate it to her and just, try and help other people that are going through it, because, you know, a lot of people think, oh, you know, you're just a bit low, but it's actually a thing, you know. So yeah, and that's another reason why when I said earlier about people coming in, trying to make their day, because that's what life's about, you know, trying to make people feel happy. But yeah, so Kolly started in October 2022 in Gerrards Cross. We've closed that one now because it was a good place to start, but the actual office building we were in wasn't too busy. And then in April we opened the one in Ealing. Someone came into the Gerrards Cross one and said, oh, you know, there's an opportunity at Ealing, and then that came about. And it's funny because I used to go see an osteopath in that same building in Ealing, so I kind of knew it a little bit, so it wasn't so daunting. So actually my dad and my stepmom went there first to sort of check it out, sit there, see how busy it was. And then, I went to see the manager there, Ahmet. We had a chat. He very kindly, you know, said, we're ready, trusted me to, you know, put up a good coffee shop in his office building. And yeah, so at the beginning, Kelly was at Gerrard's Cross still with our employee Emma, who was amazing. And I was at Ealing on my own, which was very daunting in the beginning. So it was just coffee and cakes when I was there. And it was a bit tough in the beginning to sort of, I think, get people to try me, because I think they'd had a couple of coffee shops before that didn't succeed. But, you know, just kept killing them with kindness and, you know, giving out some samples here and there. And eventually, everyone came round and, we're doing pretty well. And then Kelly came, I think, 3 months later. And then when Kelly came, we started doing the food, because Kelly's the mastermind behind the food. I know everything about coffee and I can make any drink you want, but the food side I find...
That's on camera, everything about coffee.
Maybe 95% then. But yeah, Kelly's been amazing with the food side, because obviously they want a coffee shop, but they also want food because there's people in the building. So I have Kelly to thank for all the amazing food that she's come up with. But we also do fresh juices from a place called Osman's Juice Bar in Shepherd's Bush. He's amazing. He's actually another chap that has a story with mental health. Shout out Osman, the lovely Osman. He came from Egypt, I think. Don't quote me on that. He came over to England and he had a business buying and selling fruit, and he had this big deal. Anyway, something went wrong and it fell through, and he ended up homeless. So obviously he was very depressed. I think he said it himself in another interview, on the brink of suicide, and he's created this little community hub in Shepherd's Bush Market, and he is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. You go there, he's smiling, he gives out samples, he's lovely. And I knew 3 years ago, if I had a coffee shop, I'd use his juices, because it's another story that I'm connected to, you know? Exactly. So yeah, we've got speciality coffee, fresh juices, pastries, cakes, and some nice toasties and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I'm pleased with how it's going, because in Ealing, you obviously have the footfall from Ealing Broadway, whereas Gerrard's Cross, we were kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I visited that one. It was a bit, I had to find it, and it was a little bit out of the way. Lovely space.
Yeah, you made yourself a flat white with a heart on top. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been doing enough last time recently.
You have to come to Ealing.
Yeah, maybe. You'll see. What's your paying rate now? You do deals off camera.
Come for some fun, mate.
But no, I do need to come visit. But obviously, we shared a lot there. And no, it's amazing to see the success. And I think something that you've mentioned there is about people and the people behind it and the stories and what makes Kolly what it is. And it all goes back to, and you mentioned your mum there. And thank you for sharing that, mate. Sorry, I had no idea. And it's and just she'd be so proud, I know, to see the logo, to see the bees, to see everything that you're doing. And I had that time when I came behind the bar and made the latte art and everything, and even just then in that small thing, just seeing the interactions, people coming by, like the joy you were spreading in that building, and that was when you'd only been there a short time.
Yeah.
So that's gonna carry on in Ealing, and So thank you. I just wanted to
No,
know
it's
that.
fine.
Thank you.
That's all right. And another thing I like to stress to people is, you know, we have a direct contact with all our suppliers, apart from Coca-Cola. Can't speak to the top boys there, but you know, our bakery Rockstar, we know them. You know, the juices, we know them. All the snacks, the milk, the farm, we drive all the way to Lacey's every week to get that milk.
I know that's just, growing up in Wickham, I know it's very local to...
Yeah, and you know, I could easily use another like estate dairy or Braised Farm, which are, you know, very good milks, but to me, Lacey's is just the best. So yeah, we make the effort to drive there every week, and I do think it makes a difference, you know, and yeah, supporting other small businesses. Oh, and now we've started doing bacon and sausage baps, and we're using the Bakers of Ealing. They're a family business, and they are lovely, you know, just down the road. And you know, yes, it may cost us a bit more to use these suppliers, but that's my quality. You know, I like to do it that way. I want to have the relationship and help other small businesses. You know,
exactly. It's amazing. It's amazing to see, and it's, as you say, it's that putting together, and it adds to that. We were speaking before about, you know, enjoying what you're doing, and that really helps yourself as well. Like you mentioned, you were like learning. So it's not just the what you're doing; it's who you're doing it with, and that is so important. And it's incredible. It's incredible seeing what's there, what's to come.
Yeah.
And no, I know just from what I've seen of yourself as well that you're making a difference.
Thank you, mate. Try.
And it's even hearing what you said there, and I have kind of touched about it on other episodes. I've got my own my experience of mental health is very much more like my own lived experience. But yeah, so, and I always say to people, 22 is my favourite number, because when I was 22, that I genuinely believe that I wouldn't get past 22 once I had to leave the PhD and I had to leave. Like, to me, that was it, and that I was in that space. I was lucky in a way. I had like my partner, who's I've been with since we were like 17.
Wow, nice.
And yeah, we're 30 this year, so it's
lovely.
we've literally grown up together, and yeah, very lucky that just had that person who I guess I've always been able to confide in and trust, and even like be able to talk about how I'm feeling, because I never really had that with my parents growing up. So that is partly, I think, why I didn't talk about mental health, because it was just never at home and we didn't talk about it. So yeah, it's I just think as well, when I think of Cappuccino and what's going, and just talking about mental health has created that. And moving forward, obviously we can talk things offline, but if ever you are looking to do something in this space, let me know, and I'm sure we'll be able to make a big impact together as well. So that would be amazing.
Definitely.
I'd love to support what you're doing. But yeah, I think we've covered a fair bit.
Yeah.
I want to finish with a question that I've asked everyone.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to hear your answer for this, but what does happiness mean to you?
So I'd say first thing that comes to my mind is my family, Kelly. Without Kelly, she's helped me through everything. I'm very lucky to have Kelly, my immediate family and my close friends. And I also feel incredibly lucky to have found coffee. I think that, my family, friends and coffee makes me happy. And I'm just lucky to have found it, to be honest, because that's the battle, isn't it? Finding something you enjoy and making it your job. So yeah, I guess just, family, friends being healthy and coffee, as nerdy as that sounds, that makes me happy.
And washing the coffee machine.
Yes. Do you know what?
Never happier when you sit there, clean coffee machine.
It sounds funny, but every day I close that machine, I'm even underneath, where no one can see, it's spotless, because that's what people see when they walk in. They see that, and if it's filthy, you're not going to want to buy coffee from there. But yeah, I'd say
it's true. All the fine details.
Yeah,
it's true. Yeah. But it's funny to use an analogy. I guess those fine details in what makes a good coffee shop good business. It's the same, I think, with like ourselves and self-care and mental health. It's like all the fine details, like getting the right amount of water, sleep, taking time for yourself, and being around people that make you feel grateful to be around. Or I just say people like, people are good friends, family, of like, you like who you are when you're around them. And so yeah, it sounds like you've got a great circle.
I'm very, very lucky.
That have got you to where you are now. So yeah. Cheers, Olly. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I feel very privileged for you inviting me, so thank you very much. It means a lot.
No, it's all right. And you've been a big part of like the Cappuccino journey, more than that you probably know, just from finding out the shops and just someone that I felt like, finding someone else who was passionate about it, and we were just connect online. So it's been a few years in the making, but it's amazing to now have this conversation. And here's to what's to come.
Thank you, mate. Should we do a little cheers?
Oh, go on then.
And thank you for the coffee.
Cheers. That's all right. No worries. Thank you so much for tuning in to this latest episode of Flat Whites and Insights, and I really hope you gained something from that conversation. I know I certainly did. It would mean a lot if you can like and subscribe on whatever platform you may be watching or listening on, but also if you head over to Instagram and give me a follow at Cappuccino. This is the best place to contact me, but also see the latest developments on the platform as we look to increase awareness of mental health through my passions for coffee and football. In addition, if you've heard something that you can relate to or you want to talk about a little bit more, feel free to message me on that platform. But also, if you fancy coming on yourself and having a conversation, then do let me know, because I'm always keen to connect with new people and get insights into other areas and other passions and other challenges that I might have no experience of myself. Thanks again, and I really hope you tune in for the next episode. Take care of yourselves. I've been Hans. Thank you.